Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Mr. President. And now, everyone, please settle into our seats so that we can begin our program. So with that beautiful introductory scoring, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Philippine Economic Briefing here in New York City. We are your hosts. I would like to introduce Managing Director of the Central Bank of the Philippines, Director Tony Lambino.
And beside me, the Undersecretary of the Department of Budget and Management, Margo Salcedo.
And we are both very, very excited to see you all here today. As Tony said earlier, it's a very cozy morning. It is indeed a very opportune time for us as this new administration's first Philippine economic briefing in North America. And to give you an overview.
Yep, the Philippine Economic Briefing serves as a platform for the Philippine government to provide the international business and financial communities with updates on our country's robust economic performance and investment opportunities.
Of course, this event was made possible with the generous support of our friends and partners here in New York. On behalf of the Philippine delegation and event organizers, the Department of Finance and the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, we would like to thank the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C., the Consulate and Philippine Trade Investment Center in New York, and the Philippine Permanent Mission to the United Nations. We are also grateful for our partner banks, Bank of America Securities, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, SMBC Nikko, Standard Chartered Bank, and UBS.
To start the program, may we call on Mr. James Quigley, Executive Vice Chairman of International Corporate and Investment Banking, Bank of America, to deliver the welcome remarks.
If I had trouble meandering through this crowd at 5'5", I wish you all luck. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. President. Everybody here today, on behalf of the organizing panel of financial institutions represented here today, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Sumitomo Mitsui, Banking Corporation, UBS, and Standard Chartered, which is quite the list. I'm very pleased to be able to welcome you to today's Philippine Economic Briefing at the Carlyle Hotel. What a great place to do this. This is really old school New York. So whoever had the idea to come to the Carlyle Hotel is an incredibly smart person. Hopefully it was the president. He feels good about that. At the outset, a very genuine, heartfelt thank you to His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., my friend Secretary Benjamin E. Diokno of the Department of Finance, and Secretary Alfredo E. Pascal of the Department of Trade and Industry as our keynote speakers today. Thank you to all of the esteemed delegates representing the Republic of the Philippines for this critically timed briefing, to our America's investor community, and also to many of the key stakeholders in the Philippines' economic development that have flown in from the country. Following the successful democratic transition of power post the 22 elections, it is a very exciting time for the President and his team to articulate their plans and important new policy initiatives to all of us throughout this day. All of this, of course, comes at a time in which we have quite a challenging global macro backdrop. Late-stage rate hikes here in the U.S. run the risk of aggravating points of precariousness around the world at a time when policy banks would be highly challenged to try to manage anything approaching a global systemic problem. Yet, as companies everywhere are aggressively reassessing their underlying supply chain and logistics arrangements in order to mitigate certain geopolitical risks inherent in their business models and lower political risks in certain countries where they may have concentrated political risks, this is creating an environment of what I feel is generational opportunity for all the Asian economies, notably the Republic of the Philippines. The ability of this new administration to nurture the Philippines as the preferential destination of foreign direct investment will be mission critical. We at Bank of America and all of the participating banks today, actually I think I speak on behalf of the entirety of the New York-based financial community, are extremely optimistic, given the quality of the cabinet that's been put together, the vision that's been articulated, are extremely demographic, the investments in infrastructure that we're seeing currently in the Philippines. The President's keynote address will be followed by two panel discussions in which Cabinet Secretaries, the Governor of the BSP, and select private sector participants will outline in-depth thoughts on the Philippines' economic infrastructure development agenda going forward. On behalf of the entire New York financial community, we thank you for your attendance today for this very important international economic debrief, the first of its kind, as was said earlier, in North America. Our two countries have an extraordinary history together. We have arguably never needed one another more than we do today. This is not lost on me or anyone in this room. In that broad historic context, let's proceed. So I was wondering how one introduces a president, and then I learned it's by introducing his ambassador to the United States. So I am happy to introduce, since you didn't come here to listen to me, which is something my wife would say, I am happy to introduce His Excellency Jose Manuel G. Romualdez, Ambassador of the Republic of the Philippines to the United States of America.
Well, thank you, Mr. Quigley. I only have one job, and that is to introduce. And it is my great honor to introduce to you the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos, Jr.
Thank you very much to our ambassador for performing his single job remarkably well. The Finance Secretary, who is leading the economic team of the Philippines as we go into this new era of the new global economy. Finance Secretary Ben Jokno and the other members of the cabinet who you will be meeting later on. The House Speaker, the Speaker of our House of Representatives, Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez. The similarities in our name are entirely coincidental, by the way. Thank you very much for the welcoming remarks of the Bank of America Executive Vice Chairman of International Corporate and Investment, Mr. James Quigley. All the distinguished guests, the members of our delegation, the members of especially the private sector participants in these briefings, all the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. And it is as I walked in, I said, well, this is a very fine start to the day, as we have a completely full house. And for that, I thank you for your continuing interest in the Philippines, which we are touting as, with great confidence, as Asia's fastest rising economic star. The United States and the Philippines have had long, strong, and enduring ties in trade, commerce, development, and in all other aspects of relationships between two sovereign nations. As today, the U.S. is our third largest trading partner and fourth major source of foreign direct investment. As we slowly rebuild the Philippine economy for rapid growth, we have created an even wider space for mutually beneficial investments. The Philippines is a reliable host for international partnerships. The country's favorable business climate is shored up by the sound macroeconomic fundamentals and a clear roadmap for economic recovery and sustained growth. The country is on its way to a strong recovery from the pandemic and a robust, broad-based growth in the next 6 years. In fact, our projected economic performance in the medium term is expected to surpass our regional neighbors. To secure the Philippines' bright economic future, my government will swing the doors even wider for high-value investments from both the domestic and international business communities, with a sharp focus on broad-based job creation, the expansion of digital infrastructure, research and development. More investments mean higher economic activity and more quality jobs, and then a better life for Filipinos. We have formulated a comprehensive 8-point socio-economic agenda that aims to dramatically cut poverty incidence and elevate the country to upper middle income status. Our socio-economic agenda charts out the government's policy and its different directions that it will use to tackle both near and medium-term priorities. In the near term, we will address the impact of growing inflationary pressures due to rising global prices of key commodities such as food and fuel. We will ensure domestic food security by boosting local food production and continue the provision of targeted support for sectors most affected by the rise in fuel prices. In the medium term, we will bolster job creation by intensifying investments in infrastructure and human capital development. And certainly, it is important that we exercise fiscal prudence in the fulfillment of this agenda. To this end, we are implementing the country's first ever medium-term fiscal framework. This is a fiscal consolidation strategy that will secure the fiscal stability of our macroeconomic fundamentals. Later on in the discussion, we can certainly go into a good deal more detail. We will continue our high investments in public infrastructure by harnessing our public-private partnerships mechanism. We will improve the interconnectivity of our transport networks by fast-tracking the development and enhancement of our railway systems, our airports, seaports, and road infrastructure. We will focus on agriculture as a strong driver for growth. An efficient and modern agriculture sector will ensure food security for all and reduce poverty incidence. We will also reinvigorate the tourism sector by investing in travel infrastructure and the promotion of the Filipino brand, with the Department of Tourism leading our efforts to revitalize both domestic and foreign tourism. We will ensure the safe reopening of tourist destinations and develop the Philippines' yet-to-be-discovered attractions. And therefore, we invite strategic investors from the United States to take part in this Philippines' economic resurgence. Key structural reforms have been set into place to allow for wider participation in our industries. With the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, or what we refer to as CREATE, and the economic liberalization measures, we have expanded the space for foreign investments in previously protected sectors, especially those that employ advanced technologies and research and development activities. The panel discussions led by the economic team today will provide you with a fuller and more detailed view of this roadmap for the Philippine economy in the next few years. It is our belief that the Philippines is the smart investment choice, and the best time to do business with us is now. We have grand opportunities, the timing, the window of opportunities for investment, and especially in capital intensive investments in the Philippines, which is what we need now, we believe that time is now. Thank you very much for your continuing interest, and thank you very much for joining us at this briefing, and I'm sure that it will be useful for both the side, from the Philippine side, both in the government side and in the private sector side, and for our potential U.S. investors. I look forward to seeing you all as we open your businesses back in the Philippines. Thank you and good morning.
Mr. President. The presidential photographer will be joining us on stage to take a group photo. Oh,
This audience is very lucky as the president has generously allowed us a photo opportunity with him. But since we're a little tight, the photographers will be the ones to go up on stage, and all you have to do is smile.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, one more.
Thank you very much.
Can we ask everyone to stand again as the president moves onto his